Bok ekipa, dobar dan i dobrodošli u još jedno izdanje Reboot Live at Gamescom 2019. Ja sam Luka, a u nastavku možete pogledati naš video intervju sa Andreasom Ojerforsom, inače senior game dizajnerom u MachineGamesu. Popričali smo s njim malo o Wolfenstein Youngbloodu, stoga ostanite uz nas, pogledajte intervju i ostavite nam svoje komentare, eventualno kliknite like i subscribe.
Well, welcome to the Reboot interview. We are here with Andreasom Ojerforsom.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. The senior game designer from MachineGames. Wolfenstein Youngblood released pretty recently, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. During preparation for this interview, I read a lot of interviews before the release of the game.
Oh no, I have to say new things now.
Oh yeah. So you were talking a lot about experimentation, and this is a spin-off, so people maybe shouldn't expect the same thing as with the New Order and the New Colossus.
Right.
And you wanted to do stuff differently regarding gameplay and like overall feel of the game. How did the design process differ from the New Colossus and the New Order and to Wolfenstein Youngblood?
Well, you talked about experimentation, and we stayed in that phase for a longer period than we probably do with, you know, the more straight Wolfenstein games we've done. So yeah, there was a lot of things we just had to figure out, because as soon as you just add that word co-op to your game, it changes not one thing, but just so many different things. Even if some things just have to be tweaked, they have to be tweaked, and we have to understand that they need to be tweaked, and then there's just a lot of fundamental stuff that needs to be changed. So the design process maybe wasn't longer, but it was more intense. There was more experimentation and trying out things and figuring out how to make that fun, basically. You know, we have a pretty good idea how to make a single-player, story-driven Wolfenstein game. Just adding the word co-op to it makes it really different for us as a challenge. And yeah, the co-op together with the idea that we were going to do something that is more open-ended this time. Those two were huge challenges.
And of course, open-ended means different level design, different level layout. There was a lot more verticality, which was pretty much universally praised in the reviews and everything. But also you had help from Arcane. How did it look like to work with another studio on a game such as this?
Well, it wasn't just help, right? The game is a partnership with Arcane, so like an equal partnership, but although we may be focused on different things. The cooperation was actually amazing. We learned so much from them, and I hope they learned some from us. And I don't know, even like from a technical perspective, just working together worked surprisingly well, because we're in Sweden and they're in France, and we're working on the same content. I don't know how that worked, that we pulled that off, but there wasn't a lot of friction in working on the same stuff. So I guess it's just kudos to both teams' producers and tech guys who got that working. Well, the focus was slightly different than between the two studios. There was some stuff that both did, like we did a boss, they did a boss fight. We did one new weapon, they did one new weapon. We did some levels, they did a lot of levels. But we had those sort of lines drawn up, like, okay, this is your stuff, this is our stuff. Then we worked on it. But I think, you know, we communicated all the time, and we had our people flying down to Lyon in France, and they were flying over to us in Uppsala, Sweden, to make sure that we were, you know, working on the same game, building the same game, trying to have a cohesive experience instead of something that is you know, the goal is that it shouldn't feel like you're playing a game built by two studios. It should be cohesive and unified. And I think that worked out really well.
And of course, there was some stuff, gameplay-wise or design-wise, that many people, maybe fans of the franchise, weren't expecting. Some of them were like perhaps the enemy level system, which wasn't there before. Was that something, was specifically that example, like maybe the leveling and the upgrading, which was much more deeper than in the previous game? Was that a conscious decision because of the co-op element, or was it something that you would have done even if something that you wanted to do even if the game wasn't co-op?
Some of it is because of co-op, and some of it is the more open-ended structure of the game. So in co-op, you want to allow the two players to differentiate their characters from each other, so they can kind of feel different roles in combat. So then you need some sort of kind of deep customization system, and we have that for the weapons and the characters. The whole level system is based on the idea that, you know, you can, except for like a linear beginning and a linear end, how you play the game, in which order you play missions, or which missions you play, and where you go, that's supposed to be up to you. So normally when we make a single player campaign, for example, we know exactly, you know, you play these levels, you have these weapons, you have these abilities. Now we get here, we know exactly what you know, what you have, and also kind of what you've learned.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's possible when we want this more open-ended game. So you try to find a structure that populates your game world with fitting combat scenarios and fitting enemies, depending on not the level itself, but, you know, what level are you, how far have you gotten into the game. So the enemies change depending on what level you are, because that tells us A, how long you played, pretty much, and B, you know, how many ability points you have, how many ability points have you unlocked for your character, so you get new powers and new stuff to do and get more powerful. So that's why we have this sort of level system.
And of course, the shooting in Wolfenstein games is obviously one of the best shooting you can ask for in a first-person shooter. But some of the criticism aimed at Youngblood was that that stealth wasn't really a viable option. Do you think that's so? And if you think that's so, what do you think was maybe the problem some people had with that type of gameplay?
I'd say that people who criticize Youngblood for it don't remember Wolfenstein 2. I'm not happy with the stealth in Wolfenstein 2 with the new Colossus, and I think we did a better job in Youngblood. I think it's much more doable to stealth in Youngblood than in our previous game. Probably still not perfect, and we still have stuff to learn there. But yeah, it's better than Wolf 2 when it comes to stealth. So.
Okay, yeah. You also said that that the game is much bigger in scope and like playtime-wise, gameplay-wise, of course, than New Colossus and the New Order. Do you want players to keep playing Wolfenstein for a long time? I'm not going to say games as a service, of course, but like some of the light components of that. Do you want? Are you going to bring in some new content in Paris so people can actually interact with the game for a much longer time that they would in a linear action game?
Well, even in Wolf 2, we tried to add stuff to do kind of once the credit rolls. There's still some stuff to do, and there's Youngblood also has an end, but hopefully there are side missions left for you to do, activities to do, challenges to do. So if you want to keep on playing, that was our idea. If you want to keep on playing, there should be stuff for you to do there. So that was basically the thought. You know, whatever comes in the future, we'll talk about that when the future comes. Whatever we do next, but you know, we still work on the game. We have a sizable portion of MachineGames working on Youngblood still now after launch to react on feedback we get.
Of course.
So we've released a number of patches already, and we have more coming, trying to address, you know, what we think is the most important issues people have brought up. So it's something we're going to keep on working on to improve just the base game, you know.
Also, the game is much lighter in tone, and also it's much lighter on cutscenes and story exposition and stuff like that. Was that also like something because of co-op, because when two people are playing together and they get in the groove and get in the rhythm, was it something that you didn't want to break that rhythm up, or was it something in the sense of this is a spin-off, it has its own story which is really good, but we're gonna, for like some more on Wolfenstein and BG Blazkowicz and everything, you're gonna have to wait for the third one?
Well, it's a number of reasons. One is what you're saying, that co-op kind of requires that we don't want to lock one player into a cutscene or a big event or anything, while the other one is want to do something else. So we try to give more room for the players to tell their story. So, like for example, the side missions in the game, the presentation of the side missions when you talk to a character to get a side mission, we chose to make that. If you want to kind of watch the scene unfold and the character speak, do that. That's great. But if you just want to press OK and get out of there, just grab the mission and go, and not listen to the story there, that's fine too, because that's how a lot of people play when they play multiplayer. So we want to make sure that that works. But it's also, again, this is one of our small games, so we have this rhythm at MachineGames where we make a big-ass game like the New Order or the New Colossus, where we basically start from scratch and we pull 3 years into that project. And then we have these kind of side projects or side stories that are smaller, like the Old Blood. Wolfenstein, the Old Blood was one of those after the New Order, and now we did Youngblood. And that also kind of sets the roof on what we can do with cutscenes and storytelling. So it's going to be something that's a bit more simple when it comes to the presentation. Because, like, if you look at Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, the way we tell the story there, and the cutscenes we have, and the quality of the cutscenes, and the amount of cutscenes.
And they're great, by the way.
I have to agree, they're pretty great. I didn't work on those, so I can just say, yeah, I really enjoy them myself. You know, they're going to take more than a year to produce, and Youngblood took a year and a half for us to build. And those cutscenes is going to take a long time, because just the writing process, editing process of that, casting for the actors, the shoot in LA, a long shoot that we always do in Los Angeles, because that's where all the actors are. Then you get the mocap data home, and you need to clean it up, and you build the environments. You know, that process is a lengthy process, so it just doesn't really work with this sort of shorter production schedule.
Of course. And I gotta ask this, I didn't want to, but
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Did you expect, I mean, of course, microtransactions are, like, for most players, they're like a sore wound or something. But did you expect this kind of blowback on Youngblood, especially because they aren't really like super invasive and they're not like pay to win or game breaking? Did you expect people to be so, I don't know, mad about it?
I don't know. I think the important thing is to try to explain to people what they are, and they're just they're just a way to customize the character quickly if you want to. You can, most of it you can just find silver coins in the game and buy anyway. That's what I do when I play the game. And it's very important to understand, and I think some people have misunderstood this. They think that the game is balanced for the microtransactions. The microtransactions is just a layer added to it. We balanced everything in the game to play as well as it possibly can. We want the game to play well. We want it to be balanced. We want it to be fun. We want it to be rewarding. And then, kind of as a layer on top, you have the microtransactions for the small audience that might be interested in that.
Okay, and last question. I don't know if this question is going to be easy, but Jess or Soph? Which one do you prefer?
Soph, I think.
Soph.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why?
I don't know. I don't know, and it might not even be because who they are right now. You know, I follow those characters since the first words on in a text document, right?
Yeah.
In a Word document. So I don't know. Why do I always choose Fergus to survive? Wyatt is a good character too, but you know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hard questions. Thank you very much.
Now, who do you choose between the two?
Soph.
Okay.
Why?
Why?
Okay, mine is a bit different. I think Jess is, for me, she's just a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like Soph is more like made for this. She's like over the top, but she's not that super over the top as Jess is.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, thank you for your time. It's a great game, and I'm not going to ask you anything about Wolfenstein 3 because I know you probably can't say a word about it. But are you working on it?
What's that?
I'm sorry.
You know, every time I get that question, I think this is the 5th time today. Yeah. I just have to find a new way to get out of that question.
Maybe, I mean, the ending of Wolfenstein Youngblood is pretty, like...
Now
it's open-ended, right?
Well, I mean, it is open-ended, but this story takes place after BJ's story, right? So from the very beginning, when we started writing the story for the New Order, our creative director Jens Mattis had an idea of the big arc of, you know, kind of 3 games. We didn't know if we were ever going to do another Wolfenstein, but he had an idea. Like, yes, each game is going to be its own complete story.
Yeah.
But he had in mind a bigger arc, so we know where things are going to land. And so this story, Youngblood story, takes place after that. This is 19 years into the future from Wolf 2. It's in the 80s. So this is actually after what we haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay. So if Wolfenstein continues, it will be with the twins after BJ's story wraps up.
I don't know. No, that's not even. That's not. I don't think there's. Maybe someone have had that thought. I don't know. But what I'm just trying to say that this is a side story that happens after the big trilogy story. That's
okay. Well, thank you. That's really nice to know. Again, thanks for your time and.
Thank you.
Have a great gamescom.
Thanks, you too.